Salve, salve, pessoal! Hello, everyone! Essa vai ser uma das nossas lives bilíngues, ou this is going to be like a simultaneous translation live, as we have some in the past. A gente está aqui hoje com o David, da XRPL Commons, para conversar um pouquinho com a gente sobre as iniciativas da turma da XRP Ledger. Né, ele vai falar um pouquinho sobre ele, quem ele é. We are here with David from XRPL Commons. David is the president of the institution. It's a pleasure to have you here, man. Good morning for us. I don't know which time it is for you, but very much welcome here.
Hello. Muito obrigado. Thank you very much for having me. I apologize. My Portuguese is very poor. I can understand it, but I cannot speak it. So I'll remain with my English. But I'm very excited to be here with you. I'll start with saying I love Brazil. I traveled Brazil from south to north, and I'm very excited to meet with you and the Brazilian community.
Great, thank you, man. Então ele pediu desculpa, né, porque ele não fala português, o cara, né, um lorde, né, mas deixa ali o muito obrigado dele, disse que está animado com o que está acontecendo no Brasil, está animado para conversar com a gente, está animado para conectar com a gente também. E o que a gente sempre faz, né, pessoal, quando recebemos um convidado, a primeira coisa é perguntar um pouquinho da jornada desse convidado, da história dele no mundo cripto e como é que ele foi parar onde ele estava, né? So, David, we always start our interviews asking a little about our guest, like how did you got up into crypto, and eventually how did you end up at XRPL Commons?
So very simple. Maybe just about me. I'm 40-something entrepreneur. I was born in France, lived in France and in the US. I'm an engineer. Always got super interested in technology. I stopped being a developer, 15 years ago to become an entrepreneur. And I run several companies, started several and run several companies in the tech space. And in 2022, I decided to create XRPL Commons. So I did not land at XRPL Commons. I created XRPL Commons as a new platform for developers, entrepreneurs, and builders to thrive in the XRPL ecosystem.
Okay, great. I'm going to translate it.
Okay.
Então ele falou bastante coisa legal. Pessoal, eu tô digitando aqui do lado, porque enquanto ele fala, eu vou tomando notas, né? So, David, just clarifying to the audience that while you speak, I'm taking notes so I can translate your content. Então, ele tem uns 40 e tantos anos, ele é empreendedor, nascido na França e com passagem pelos Estados Unidos, é engenheiro de formação, tecnólogo, gosta de tecnologia, e ele começou a programar mais ou menos uns 15 anos com vias de empreendedorismo. Então, um cara que gosta de empreender. Rodou múltiplas companhias, criou projetos e, eventualmente, em 2022, ele decidiu criar a XRPL Commons. Então ele não é apenas o presidente, ele também é o fundador, né? So you're not only president, you are founder, né? Yes, da XRPL Commons, e como uma plataforma para aqueles que querem crescer no ecossistema. Agora, uma coisa que me deixou curioso é se eu vou perguntar para ele, I'm going to make another question, a follow-up question, mas eu vou perguntar para ele como é que alguém cria uma XRPL Commons, bateu na porta da XRP e falou: oi, eu tenho uma ideia, né? Tô querendo fazer um Commons para vocês topam? Como é que ele conseguiu emplacar isso, né? Então eu vou perguntar aqui para ele. I know you understand Portuguese quite well, David, but we have to translate because some international people may not understand Portuguese. You said you created the XPR Commons. Like, did you knock on the door of XRP and said, "Hey guys, I have an idea. I'm going to make you a platform for everyone. It will be called XPR Commons. It will be great." And they bought it. Was something like that?
So there's no door. There's no XRP door on which you can knock. What happened is that in 2021, 2022, I started to get very interested in the potential of blockchain. And I had done a study for a customer of mine that was a big insurance company, and they wanted to know how to use blockchain. And so I myself got really into the potential of this technology. I realized that most people were just talking about crypto and not talking about the blockchain in general, and that the underlying technology that enables crypto has potential to do way more than just crypto. So crypto is one use case that I have a lot of love for, but there are many others that you can investigate and see how they impact each industry. That's how I started this idea of working on expanding the reach of blockchain more in this industry. The financial industry for once, insurance industry. But then, at a wider level, when you think about it, blockchain is a way to create trust. It's the layer of trust. And right now, we're in the crisis of trust pretty much everywhere. Crisis of trust in the media, in the politics, in justice, in healthcare. Most of the institutions are, right now, they're under a lot of pressure, and I think the core issue that all are facing is the lack of trust. So I came with this idea that if we use blockchain not just for crypto, but in as a tool in the stack of every industry, we will be able to improve the level of trust between institution and constituents, between companies and customers, between partners, wherever there is a potential conflict of interest. If you bring blockchain, you release that pressure. So I started with this idea that blockchain would be my professional career in the next 5-10 years, and I didn't know exactly where to start. But I was a community builder in France and also in the US. I always worked as a bridge. When I was in the US, I worked in Silicon Valley to create a bridge between investor and startups, or between corporates and startups. And before that, I was already doing that in different ways. So my idea was, let's create a bridge for companies to use blockchain. And to do that, I need a tool. I need a platform. Okay, so I was myself in different ecosystems at the time. And I started talking to a lot of people. I was very interested in this concept of green blockchain. 2021, 2022, a lot of people were arguing that this blockchain was green, this blockchain was green. And I did a lot of research, and I found that XRP Ledger, because of its consensus, had a very, very low carbon footprint, but also a very stable, not stable in the way we call stable coins, but a very sturdy token. Okay, so I started to deep dive into XRP Ledger, and I lived in San Francisco at the time. I had connections with people who introduced me to other people in the XRP ecosystem, and I ended up introducing this idea of creating a platform that could, be a physical platform, physical space. And I knew I was going to go back to France. And so I offered I submitted an idea to people at Ripple to create a hacker house in Europe for people building on the XRP Ledger. And that idea snowballed into what XRP Ledger became, a global platform for entrepreneurs and developers to spread knowledge, to create opportunities, and to help entrepreneurs build companies.
Wow, nice. Very nice. Yes, I'm going to translate it, but I know we have like a script of questions, but I want to exchange a few more ideas with you because I'm really fond of the way that you are like explaining your ideas and your line of thought. Tô falando aqui com ele que eu vou traduzir, né, as coisas que ele falou, mas tem algumas ideias para a gente trocar, porque a visão do David é muito parecida com a visão que a gente tem aqui, né, do nosso universo, tá? Então, ele falou um pouquinho mais da história da criação da XRPL Commons, que é uma espécie de ecossistema para criadores, empresas, programadores, né, prosperarem na blockchain da XRP, que é a XRP Ledger. Ele falou um pouco mais da história dele, desde que em 2021 ele estava interessado em cripto e estava pegando alguns clientes já, tinha cliente interessado em blockchain, e ele começou a estudar mais o assunto e teve um insight, né, teve um estalo de que blockchain é mais do que fazer moedas de cripto. Blockchain é uma questão de resolver o problema da confiança, né? A gente fala muito isso aqui, né? Que nós vivemos numa era de crise de confiança, ninguém confia mais no governo, no banco, no plano de saúde, na mídia, em grandes corporações, ninguém confia mais em nada, e a blockchain é uma tecnologia de confiança, e a gente pode usar essa tecnologia para melhorar todos os setores, né, da indústria e para melhorar a relação entre empresas e pessoas, empresas e bancos, né, na sociedade como um todo. Essa era a ideia que ele teve de blockchain. Então ele começou a investigar, né, parceiros e onde que ele poderia trabalhar melhor essa ideia. Ele começou puxando ali pela linha das blockchains verdes, né, as green blockchains, são blockchains com uma pegada de carbono pequena. Eventualmente chegou na XRP Ledger, gostou, né, um cara que sempre foi muito acostumado a fazer relações ali de empresas, investidores, trabalhar com ponte. Acabou que ele conheceu gente na XRP, propôs a ideia e evoluiu, né? A própria XRP Ledger evoluiu com as ideias dele, como ele evoluiu ali como founder e como presidente da XRPL Commons, tá? Eu vou perguntar já para ele o que é a XRPL Commons, mas eu quero só compartilhar para ele uma das nossas frases tecnofilosóficas, né? Que é uma das frases que eu cunhei lá em 2022, até falar um pouquinho para ele da tecnofilosofia, que é aquela frase de que blockchain não é a descentralização do dinheiro, né? Blockchain é a descentralização da confiança, e que o dinheiro é apenas uma de várias possíveis formas ou expressões de confiança, né? E a gente já cunhou essa frase em 2022, né? E ele está trazendo uma releitura disso agora, quero compartilhar com ele. So just to share you some insights, David, from our side, like I am not your usual crypto influencer or your usual crypto KOL.
I know.
I know, thanks. I am known for being quite a philosopher and more of a thinker guy than like a shiller of tokens. I do not shill anything on my channel. I just make studies. And from our philosophy perspective, we have some like mottos or some power sentences. I don't know how to say in English, but like mottos, yes. And one of our mottos is a sentence that I redacted in 20,000 Wu, like 3 years ago. And it says like that: blockchain is not the decentralization of money. Blockchain is the decentralization of trust. Money is only one of the several forms of expression that trust can have. So very aligned on your line of thought and your way of viewing blockchain technology. So just curious about that. I'm always happy when I find people that think likewise, and it's a pleasure to have you on the channel. I can exchange these ideas.
You know, I think something that really struck me is that in the years I lived in San Francisco, a lot of the companies in San Francisco was trying to do a bit of introspection. How can technology do better for the world? How can we prevent major scandals from happening because of technology? And when I studied blockchain, I realized, well, guys, the technology is there. We have the solution. We just need to spread it. We need to put it in the right hands. And so eventually, I think everything will be on chain. And when we, some friends of mine really make fun of me because in 2014, one of our friends reached out to us and said, we were in engineering school, so all these guys, we stayed in touch together, and one of them said like, oh, I met people from, people were early Bitcoin adopters, 2014. We should all buy Bitcoins. And I answered, well, my family and the way I was brought up is we don't believe in easy money. There is no such thing as easy money. And when I said I'm going to launch a blockchain foundation, they all said like, oh, we thought you didn't believe in easy money. I said like, I still don't believe in easy money. I believe in hard work. And the hard work is just starting now. How do we put blockchain at the right place so it enables the creation of value? And I know you're not the typical crypto influencer, and I'm not the typical community builder. What I say often, I don't make friends when I say that in the crypto space, is that I don't think that banks will disappear. I don't think it's even a good thing that banks disappear. I think banks will use blockchain solutions on the long term. And what happens is it will improve the level of trust that we can put in the banks. If you know their reserves, if you know how they operate, if you have a direct access to your bank account, and you do not depend just on the bank, but the bank sets up solutions. So if the banks collapse or if there are some major things happening, I was in Latin America in the early 2000s, and I've met a lot of friends from Argentina, and they all flew Argentina when El Corralito happened, and I've seen it. Like, people were middle class, educated, suddenly they lose everything they have. They lose all their savings. I know that a bank, a financial institution backed by a government, I know it can fail its customers. It can fail its users. An institution can fail its user. I know that. And so I'm eager to bring blockchain wherever it can reduce that pain.
Great. Also, striking similarities on our line of thought. Some of the topics that I also discuss. It's not like the realization of the crypto anarchist utopia where banks and governments die and we will all put our hands together and we will all love Bitcoin and the world will be beautiful, just and fair. Like, it's more of an in-between. Like, I say that as crypto changes the world changes crypto and or blockchain, and we're going to mesh with each other and hopefully end up with something better. I agree with you on that.
Absolutely. And I would add that it's good that we have crypto degens who are, at the forefront of innovation, who are willing to take risks on a lot of things, that they're doing experimentation, and it might be just a niche, a few thousands people, hundreds of thousands, but still, we're almost 8 billion on the planet. So, a couple hundred thousand of people doing things is good because they show the way. They show that technically it's possible. They get a lot of investors to, and I'm talking about institutions here, investors to invest in infrastructure, building marketplaces, building exchanges, building things that are core infrastructure to how blockchain operates. And then we can reuse that for other things. We will talk about it later, but when you look at meme coins, it's a big gamble. People like it, don't like it. I don't really care. What I see is meme coins are building infrastructure for future way to invest and trade in other values. Maybe that will be IP, intellectual property. Maybe that will be humanitarian aid. On how you raise money, you invest in projects. When Yunus invented the microcredit, he didn't invent something. He took the credit institutions and brought it to a smaller scale that can really benefit people. I think we're doing a bit of the same with crypto infrastructure. We're going in places that are wild and sometimes crazy. Then we take a step back, look at what just happened, and we see, okay, that can be reused, repackaged, and reused for other purposes that will be probably creating more value for a greater number of people.
Great. Going to translate a huge chunk of conversation.
Yeah.
Então ele falou um pouquinho, né, um pouco mais sobre, depois que eu falei, né, que a gente pensa parecido, ele elaborou um pouco mais, falou que ele já vem também de muito tempo observando do tema de São Francisco com as startups e corporações, conversando com essas empresas e todo mundo procurando formas, né, de melhorar essa questão dos escândalos corporativos, da crise de confiança global. Né, falou que mesmo quando ele estava ali começando em cripto, alguns amigos engenheiros dele estavam zoando ele, falando que ele estava querendo fazer dinheiro fácil ali, criando blockchain, né? Ele falou que não, o negócio dele não é fazer dinheiro fácil, é fazer trabalho duro para usar a tecnologia de blockchain para realmente melhorar as coisas. E aí ele acabou entrando num ponto que é mais um ponto que é super similar à nossa linha de raciocínio, né? O David fala muito parecido com a forma como eu falo, no final das contas, né? Ele falou que ele também não vê um futuro como a gente não vê. Não vê um futuro onde cripto vai destruir os bancos, destruir os governos, vai ser aquela utopia lá, anarcocapitalista. Não. Que a tendência é que os bancos sejam forçados a adotar essas tecnologias, né, para melhorar, para serem mais competitivos e até por pressão das pessoas para darem mais transparência. Ele até citou, né, que ele pessoalmente tinha amigos na Argentina quando deu a crise lá da hiperinflação, e ele viu pessoas assim que eram pessoas formadas, graduadas, de classe média, que tinham uma vida muito estável, do dia para a noite perderem todo o seu dinheiro porque o sistema bancário simplesmente ele quebra, ele para de funcionar, ele falha, e que blockchain pode resolver isso, né? Eu falei um pouquinho de como realmente a gente está pensando parecido, e ele fez aqui uma filosofada final, falando que ele gosta também da parte degen, porque os degens, eles muitas vezes saem na frente, os degens, eles trazem inovação e eles criam infraestrutura. E ele falou um pouquinho sobre a visão dele no mercado de meme coins, pump.fan, onde, cara, gosta ou não gosta, o problema é seu, mas o fato é que os caras montaram uma infraestrutura capaz de processar milhões de transações ali, né, no intervalo curtíssimo de tempo. E que depois que a gente surta e depois aterriza e depois a gente para, o que está fazendo aqui, né? A gente pode pelo menos pegar essa infraestrutura que foi usada durante a mania, durante a febre, e usar para outra finalidade, cara, para controle de propriedade intelectual, direitos de imagem, ajuda humanitária, sistemas de microcrédito, né? A mesma infraestrutura que consegue fazer uma pump.fan funcionar, conseguiria fazer sistemas como esse. Então, realmente, cara, David, um cara bem legal, assim, bem alinhado com nós aqui. Saying that you are really aligned with us, man. Really enjoying this conversation. Now let's resume our script. We have a few questions for you. We're just chit-chatting until now. Né? Finalmente, agora eu vou entrar nas perguntas para o David. E eu quero que ele explique um pouquinho para a gente, porque ele é o presidente da XRPL Commons, que é uma iniciativa de um ecossistema para construção e prosperidade na XRP Ledger, que é uma blockchain EVM baseada na tecnologia XRP, que também não é a XRP, que é a empresa Ripple por trás. Então, eu pedi para ele esclarecer para a gente e colocar essas coisas no lugar, né? O que é a Ripple, o que é XRP, o que é a XRP Ledger e o que é o XRP Ledger Commons, para a gente poder explicar um pouquinho para a galera, colocar cada coisa no seu lugar. So, just for us to help our audience understand better, like the ecosystem, we have several titles here, and we must make sense of them. I understand that XRPL Commons is one thing, XRPL or XRP Ledger is another, XRP itself is another, and Ripple, the company, is yet another. So, just for the audience to understand, who are we bringing here to talk? Can you help us clarify each one of these terms?
Sure, that would be my pleasure. So, the mother of all things is the XRP Ledger. The XRP Ledger, it's a layer 1 blockchain. It's open source, it's public. It's a protocol that started about 12 years ago. It started as a blockchain for payments. Okay, so the very philosophy of the XRP Ledger is that it's very efficient at processing payments. It closes a ledger every 3 seconds in average, 3 to 4 seconds, and it's pretty sturdy. In 12 years, it almost never broke. It was never damaged from hacking or had any security hole. it was meant for businesses to use blockchain. So it's regulation first, and it's a very stable blockchain. I'll stop here for XRP Ledger, the protocol.
Okay.
The native token that is used on the XRP Ledger is called XRP. Okay, and that token is also heavily traded on the XRP Ledger itself, but also on many exchanges. And the XRP is a token that has been for the last 10 years in the top 10 tokens, at every point of time. Right now, it's maybe number 4, maybe number 3 if you don't count stablecoins. But
how many years it is in the top 10?
12 years.
12 years. Wow, my God.
XRP Ledger started in June 2012.
Yeah. Okay.
So it will be almost 13 years in 2 months. So yeah, it's an old blockchain. When you think about it, in the blockchain time, at the blockchain time scale, XRP Ledger, it's an old one. It was the third one after Bitcoin, Litecoin, and then XRP Ledger. Almost 2.5 years before Ethereum started, and the newer generation blockchain started. So very early in the process. And the people who designed and created it were Bitcoin developers. They were trying to find a way to improve payments, because Bitcoin is a great store of value. But if you want to buy something with Bitcoin, if you go in a retail store and you pay with Bitcoin, at the time it was 60 minutes of block time. Now it's a bit less, but still, you want payments to be instant. You go in a bakery, you ask for a piece of bread, you pay, you leave with the good in the next minute. You don't wait 10, 20 minutes for the transactions to be validated. So Bitcoin is great for a lot of things, but for instant payments, it doesn't really work. So they worked on a way to improve that and changed the consensus mechanism. And these people emitted 100 billion XRPs, okay? And they gave 80% of the 100 billion XRPs to a company, a legal entity named Ripple Labs, an American company. It's a for-profit that edits financial software to improve payments and a lot of other things. But initially, it was really focused on improving payments and cross-border payments in particular. So you have XRP Ledger, the protocol on which we use XRP as a native token. And then you have Ripple, the company that has a lot of solutions. So right now they do RippleNet, their payment solution. They do RLUSD, Ripple USD. It's a stable coin.
Yeah.
They do custody, Ripple custody. They do a bunch of things. There's next to Ripple, there are other companies that are building on XRP Ledger. They're interesting to mention. There's XRP Labs, which is the software editor that puts together one of the best XRPL wallet. It's called Xaman. It's a very safe, feature-complete wallet. And there are other companies that are building on XRP Ledger too. And then there are some non-profits that gravitate in the XRPL world. XRPL Commons is one. What we do is really we help the community grow. We help spread the knowledge about XRP Ledger. We do a lot of trainings. We're here for the developers, the entrepreneurs, the researchers, all the builders community. That's our main focus, okay? We're not focusing on the holders, on the investors. We're really focused on the builders. And we believe that to get more builders in the field, you need more companies. So we also help entrepreneurs start the companies. And if these companies are successful, that will create opportunities for developers. So that's our vision, is really to help these companies grow and thrive. And then you have another entity called XRPL Foundation, which we're a part of. We're a proud founding member of the new XRPL Foundation. And the foundation is in charge of making sure that everything happens to maintain the XRP Ledger, the blockchain, safe, sturdy, used, maintained, and decentralized. And so to do that, Commons, Ripple, XRPL Labs, and another entity called XAODAO that is led by people in Australia. So trying to already decentralize in terms of geographies, with people in the US, people in the Netherlands, ourselves in France, and people in Australia, and a wide range of people in Europe, in India, in Latin America, to join this foundation. And this foundation is really focusing on doing everything it has to do to keep the XRP Ledger open source, well-maintained, decentralized. So I hope that helps clarify a bit.
Yeah,
Then
I think there was more.
I would just add, there's we've been working for a year now on a website called map.xrpl-common.org. I'll send you the link if you want to add it to
Send it on the private chat here. I can repost to the guys.
Yep. And so we've been listing all the projects that are building on the XRPL and trying to provide everyone with clear visibility on who's doing what and what are the use cases. A lot of time we get questions like, oh, what are people building on XRP Ledger? So first, people understand that you can build with XRP Ledger, because to your point, this is a really good question, because a lot of people call it the Ripple blockchain, or a lot of people, when I meet them, they say like, oh yeah, I remember I bought some Ripple in 2017. No, you don't buy some Ripple. Ripple is a company. You bought probably some XRP token on an exchange, or you traded them on XRPL, and XRP Ledger is not Ledger the company. Again, that's also some people are not making the difference. This is I would say the choice of name. Interestingly, it's like IKEA calling itself Table. In the decentralized ledger technology space, if you call yourself Ledger, then you embrace the whole ecosystem. XRP Ledger is just one of the blockchains, one of the ledgers you can use. And so I'll pause here if you want to translate that already.
Okay, yes, I think you have enough to translate. And then we go on talking about other ledgers that you may have. Então, ele já colocou vários nomes no lugar, né? Primeiro ele falou o seguinte, que a XRP Ledger, ou XRPL, é a blockchain do ecossistema, é a mãe de todas as coisas. Então, é onde estão rodando as transações, é onde são formados os blocos, é onde nós transacionamos, tá? É uma rede que já tem 12 anos de vida, faz um bloco a cada 3 segundos, né? Nunca sofreu hacking, nunca teve brecha de consenso, e é uma blockchain focada para negócios e para regulação. O XRP é o token nativo da blockchain XRP Ledger. Então, que nem Ether é o token nativo da rede Ethereum, né? Ou sei lá, FTM é o token nativo da rede Phantom, XRP é o token nativo da rede XRP Ledger. Então, é um token muito negociado, tanto na própria rede da XRP Ledger, como nas blockchains, e é um token que já está, desde que ele foi lançado, 12 anos de vida, ele nunca caiu dos top 10 tokens de market cap do mercado. É um projeto bem veterano, foi criado por programadores que são ex-programadores do Bitcoin. Eu não sabia dessa informação, acabei de descobrir com o David. Então, os idealizadores iniciais da XRP Ledger são ex-programadores da rede Bitcoin. E a XRP Ledger foi a terceira blockchain a surgir logo depois da Litecoin, tá? Outra coisa que ele falou é que do lote inicial, do gênesis do token XRP, teve uma boa parcela de token XRP que foram cedidos para uma empresa desenvolvedora, que é uma empresa que mantém a parte do software evoluindo. Essa empresa é a Ripple, tá? Então a Ripple, ela assume aspectos técnicos de desenvolvimento e de soluções. Por exemplo, ela desenvolve soluções para bancos fazerem transações transfronteiriças, né, os cross-border transactions, fazerem liquidação de conta. A gente sabe hoje que quando você faz uma transferência internacional no Nubank, né, no roxinho, por baixo dos panos, o Nubank está usando tecnologia da Ripple, que por baixo dos panos está usando a rede XRP Ledger para fazer liquidação de transação. Acredito eu, ou a XRP Ledger ou alguma outra blockchain satélite, né, dedicada para isso. Eu vou até perguntar para o David já. Além disso, ele falou que existem as empresas non-profit, como a XRPL Commons, que é onde ele é o fundador e o presidente, né? E a missão da XRPL Commons é ajudar no crescimento e na adoção da rede, trazendo novos empreendedores, pesquisadores, programadores, builders, galera que queira construir. Isso é uma coisa que eu vou perguntar para ele, porque eu também sou empresário, né? Também trabalho com desenvolvimento, e eu vou perguntar como é que nós, né, empresários e builders do Brasil, como é que a gente pode, então, se conectar com a XRPL Commons. Por fim, ele falou um pouco da XRPL Foundation, que tem as características tradicionais de uma foundation, de um projeto de blockchain, que é aquele órgão que supervisiona se a rede está indo na direção certa, né? Se está indo no rumo descentralizado, se está funcionando direito, se está todo mundo se comportando ali da forma correta. Então, uma fundação é aquela que zela, né, pelos princípios do ecossistema e a guardiã daqueles princípios. Por último, ele deu esse link para a gente investigar, que é o map.xrplcommons.org, que é um link que mapeia quem faz o quê, né, e o que está acontecendo nesse ecossistema, que é um ecossistema bem complexo. Eu acho que muitas pessoas aqui não tinham noção, como eu também não tinha, de que tem tantas partes envolvidas, né, no que a gente entende como XRP. Muita gente só vê um token largado lá na Binance e não faz ideia do que está acontecendo, né? A gente começou a ter um pouco dessa ideia depois que a gente fez o estudo de XRP. E eu vou até falar um pouquinho para ele que foi isso que puxou a gente para conversar com ele. So, David, I just finished the translation of all you said. One remark that I did is that I think that few people, at least in Brazil, had until now a clear idea of how much is going on, like behind the XRP token. Like most of the people only see the XRP token and are trading it on Binance or something and have no idea of all that's going on. We started to get a better grasp of that because we did a deep dive study on XRP. I don't know if Cass told you that, but we did like almost a 2-hour deep dive study on XRP on our channel, updating everything that is happening. And I found out about XPR Commons during that deep dive study. And I said, well, we got to talk to the guys at XPR Commons. We have to talk to them. And eventually we got to brought you here. But you said that we may have, like, a pergunta que eu vou fazer para ele agora. Ele falou que existe essa blockchain, que é a XRP Ledger, e existem outras blockchains também, além dessa, e eu não sei se elas são blockchains de uso específico para empresas privadas, e acho que ele queria tocar nesse assunto. Eu vou pedir para ele elaborar um pouquinho. So, I think we can just finish the follow-up. You were just telling us that XRP Ledger is the mother blockchain, but that we have like other ledgers, and I am curious to know a little about more of that.
Absolutely. So I think today XRP Ledger has become an ecosystem. So you have XRP Ledger first that has evolved into a more sophisticated blockchain. It doesn't just do payments; it does a lot of things. So in time. So first, it had a lot of technical advance compared to other chains. So you have natively multi-signature, natively you have escrows. A lot of different payment types on the XRP Ledger are native objects like checks. You can send a check to someone and that person decide when they cash it on their account. It's a very advanced way to send money if you think about it. You have today NFTs and a wide way to use them. A lot of conversations around different type of tokens. So there's like hundreds of thousands of tokens that have been emitted on the XRP Ledger and issued on the XRP Ledger. Meme coins, this is the happy moment right now for meme coins. It's very, very easy to issue a token on the XRP Ledger. And there's a lot of things that have been thought from day zero, from the first day of XRP Ledger, that for a long time people thought like, oh, this is really annoying. Why did they do that? And now that we're evolving into a more mature adoption of blockchain, people realize the power of these features. So I'll give you an example. If you want to send a token, not for XRP, but any other token that has been issued on the XRP Ledger, if you want to send it to someone, let's say you want to do an airdrop, on any other chain, you just send it and that's it. On the XRP Ledger, from day one, we wanted to have a very robust compliance regime. So making sure that you don't hold value or token or assets that you don't want to hold. So let's say you have a token that is regulated in Europe, and I don't want you to send it to me. Well, you just can't. You have to wait for me to give you my authorization. We call it a trust line that says, David, allow you to send value in that token to me. And so, okay, if you want to do a drop, this makes it more difficult. You can do it, but you have to allow you have to get everyone to allow you to send them your value first. But then, if you think about major adoption in the world of real-world tokenization, real-world asset tokenization, or more sophisticated assets, then it becomes interesting to have this sort of features. Same as we have a feature named Reserve, which to start signing transaction with an account, you have to enable it. And for it to be enabled, you have to put up a reserve. So it's money that you put up front that is locked on your account, and you cannot do anything. You cannot send value unless you have activated your account. So we don't have millions of accounts that have been just created and are just sitting there. To be able to work with your account, you have to enable it and lock some value. It's a very small amount. It's 1 XRP today, or 2 XRPs. There are different values for different objects that you create on the XRP Ledger. It doesn't pay the validators. It's also one thing in the philosophy of the XRP Ledger that is worth noting, is that the validators are not incentivized to participate. They contribute like you contribute to an open source project. You contribute because you want it to exist. Whether you have a startup, you have a product that is using the XRP Ledger, you want the XRP Ledger to exist and keep making progress. So the validators are not paid, and when we ask you to pay for activating an account, it's just to make sure that the blockchain only has the objects that are meaningful, that will be used, and not have like millions of accounts that are just sleeping and not being used. That's the global philosophy of the XRP Ledger. Now, expanding the XRP Ledger, now we have more and more features at the protocol level. We have a DEX, all the liquidity is aggregated on the XRP Ledger, so you can have access to all the offers on the XRP Ledger. Whether you're product A, product B, product C, if you're building on the XRP Ledger, you access the global liquidity. And then beyond the XRP Ledger, there are other chains that are connected in a way to the XRPL. So there's one chain called XAHAO that is a fork of the XRP Ledger that allows for more complex programmability on XAHAO than on the XRP Ledger. So core XRPL developers have started to work on this technology, and now I would call it a side chain. It's a chain that has a lot in common with the XRPL. Still resolve if you have an address on the XRP Ledger, you can use it on XAHAO and vice versa. But it's a different chain, and it's in the same ecosystem. There's another chain. It's called the EVM sidechain, and it's like its name says, it's a EVM compatible, Ethereum virtual machine compatible sidechain that lets you deploy some contracts, Solidity contracts, on the sidechain, and then tap into the liquidity pool on the XRPL. So if you have a lending protocol on any EVM compatible chain, you can deploy the same contract on the EVM sidechain and then tap into this huge market opportunity that is the XRP Ledger liquidity pool. There's another chain, it's called the Root Network, that was designed and developed by Futureverse, that is using the XRP as a native token. So they use it for their gas tokens. So you see there's some, I call it the nebula of other chains. It's a galaxy that revolves around XRP or XRP Ledger.
Okay, it's done?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Lots of stuff that I didn't know about. Né? Ele começou a resposta dele falando até algumas curiosidades. Most of the points that you brought up about XRP Ledger we caught in our deep dive study, and it were points that I praised a lot. I also didn't know about that, but I'm going to inform the audience. Ele levantou alguns pontos sobre a própria XRP Ledger, que são pontos que a gente também levantou no nosso estudo, que eu achei bem interessante e que é diferente de outras blockchains. Então, por exemplo, para você manter uma carteira nativa na XRP Ledger, você tem que ter um valor travado em custódia para você ativar a sua carteira, né, que é diferente de uma Ethereum, de uma Solana, de uma BNB, porque lá você cria a carteira e dane-se, né, esquece a carteira. Aí você tem milhões, bilhões de carteiras e a maioria delas muitas vezes não está fazendo nada, né, está lá largado. Então a XRP ela tem um mecanismo que acaba sendo até um mecanismo de anti-spam. I find it kind of like an anti-spam mechanism when you require like a little caution to activate your wallet. Yes, very useful for that. Porque para que você vai ficar criando milhões de carteiras e fazer um ataque síbio se tu vai ter que gastar dinheiro para manter essas carteiras todas, né? Ele também destacou que os validadores da XRP Ledger não são economicamente incentivados, eles são colaboradores voluntários que fazem parte do ecossistema da XRP, bem interessante. Né? E depois ele falou um pouco quando você começa a ir além da XRP Ledger. Então ele fala também que tem uma DEX com liquidez global, né, que conecta esse ecossistema todo, com inclusive os tokens que são criados em cima da XRP, tem algumas stablecoins criadas ali, por exemplo. Ele falou de outras blockchains que orbitam ali um ecossistema, como a ZAL, que é um fork focado em programação mais complexa, uma sidechain. Falou da sidechain EVM, que é para quem quer usar Solidity para poder interagir com a XRP Ledger. E falou, por exemplo, da Root Network, que é um projeto de um parceiro que literalmente usa XRP como token nativo, tá? Então, dá para a gente aqui uma noção do tamanho do ecossistema, tá? Da XRPL Commons. E agora eu quero perguntar um pouquinho para ele sobre como é que nós, né, porque aqui nesse canal é um canal que tem de tudo, né, cara? Tem builder, tem filósofo, tem investidor, tem degen, tem Bitcoin maximalista, tem até a bagaça toda aqui no canal. Mas dos builders, né, que estão assistindo aqui, porque tem muito builder chegando aqui no canal, empresas, empreendedores, hackateiros, né? Como é que a gente interage com a XRPL Commons e o que a gente pode encontrar por lá se a gente quiser construir nesse ecossistema, tá? So, David, now jumping for our next question, like there are lots of people in this channel, like this is a really heterogeneous channel. We have maximalists, we have degens, we have builders, we have people who love hackathons, we have enthusiasts, philosophers, people from the economy side, but talking to our builders, like how can we as builders, like I myself own a company, like I am an entrepreneur in crypto, I make lots of projects, do consultancy, all kind of stuff, build and have development teams. How can we engage with XRPL Commons, and what we as builders can expect if we like drive our attention to build on the XRPL ecosystem?
So there are many ways to do it. So if you're a developer, we make it very easy for developers to learn how to build on XRP Ledger. So, you know, the big realization is to understand you can build on XRP Ledger. Once you understand that, it is very easy for people to jump in it, especially if you have already worked with other chains. Because the XRP Ledger has been around for so long, we have developed almost all the libraries for people to work with. So the JavaScript library, the Java library, the Go library, the Rust library, the TypeScript.
I love Java.
You know, whichever language you work with, there's a library for you to work on. And the XRP Ledger, we call it a fixed function ledger. It means it's a big smart contract, and you call the functions that you need, and that is, you know, very easy to do. So when you're a Web2 developer, you've never worked with blockchains before, XRP Ledger gives you a catalog of functions that you can use. So you want to create a multi-signature account, you know, it's one line of code with the parameters. You want to send the payments, one line of code. You want to create an escrow, it's very intuitive and very easy. So the documentation has been around for enough time that we have a lot of contributions. We have a dedicated team that works on the documentation. So documentation is very clear, very straightforward. But also we create a lot of content, so videos, trainings, tutorials, and we do every other month. We have a training in Paris in person for about 50 people. It's free to attend, so, you know, anyone who's traveling to Europe and wants to step in the office for a couple of days, look for the next training. It will be I'll just fetch the date just to make sure I give you the right ones. It will be May 5th and 6th, the next one. And if you just follow us on social media, we announce every time. We also want to bring these training sessions online. So expect us to announce very soon some online sessions for people who cannot travel. What we really like about having people here in the office is that we can really build a meaningful relationship. We create experiences here that people really love, and that also how we can help people on the long term. I would say one of the core values at XRPL Commons is that we don't invest in projects, we invest in people. And when I say we invest, it means we spend a lot of time with the people. If they're genuinely interested and they have ideas, we will be there to help them. Open the network, find the meaningful people they need to meet, eventually investors. Every connection we can make, we do, and we are a bit the invisible hand in the ecosystem that brings people to the right opportunity. So training is one thing. We have a residency for entrepreneurs, and we've already welcomed several Brazilian people, so we're super happy to have more. And I would say that Aurélien, who's the head of the residency, it's called the Aquarium program. Aurélien, as the head of the Aquarium, lived in Brazil for 12 years, so he speaks Portuguese and he's very eager to engage with the Brazilian community. He was at It's Brazil last year, and we really wanted to make our name known to the Brazilian community for many reasons, but also I think Brazil is pretty advanced in terms of adoption, so there's a lot to do with the Brazilian community there. We've welcomed. I will name a few people and projects that came from Brazil to the Aquarium. We had Econavi, that was co-founded by Breno Vega and Simon Lulling. And what Econavi does, they map farms in Brazil that are planting agroforestry. And what they do is they generate biodiversity credits, and they let you trade the biodiversity credit on chain. Very interesting projects. We recently had Eloisa Passos, from a CEO of Trex. She was with us in Paris. So this program is 3 months long. So in 3 months, we have enough time to really bond with the entrepreneurs. And Eloisa is working on a gaming platform that's really, really interesting, really has a lot of potential. And in the previous one, we had Daniela van Ertwig, and she's an entrepreneur, but she's also a book writer. She wrote a book called Boy and Bitcoin, and she lives in Florianopolis, which is one of my favorite places in Brazil. So we really welcome the Brazilian community. That's the message I want. That's the message I want to convey to your audience. The Aquarium is application based. So if you want to spend 3 months in Paris working and living with us, so we have a house where we host the entrepreneurs, and we pay for their traveling, and we pay a stipend so they can live in Paris without having to focus on other things. They can really dedicate 100% of their time to their projects while they're here. There's an application process. We get now several hundreds of applications for each, and we only keep 12 for each session. So I'm glad to say that this program became pretty known in the crypto entrepreneur space, where we get a lot of inbound. We can only take 12, but we take the 12 best and the most potential, the one that have the most potential. So I'll share also a link to the Aquarium, because I think that's a dream program. If you're really willing to put efforts and sweat and time and dedication into your project, then the Aquarium is the perfect setup for you to build and ship. And I would say the last thing is we travel a lot. We try to be everywhere where the community is. So we are based in Paris, but we are pretty much everywhere. This year we really focused on Europe in terms of meetups. So we organized meetups with the different in different cities, every time with the local partner. So when there's an XRPL startup in a city, we like to go there and help them throw a great event for the local community. So one day we might go to Brazil also. And there's a couple of guys who are working on building the local community. One of them, a Brazilian guy, Abner. I don't know if he's listening to us, but if he is, hello, Abner. Abner is also known as Bias Goose on internet, and he's the face of the community. So everyone knows Bias Goose. And he's from Brazil, and he's been very active in building the local community too.
Great. Thanks a lot. Ele falou aqui, cara, bastante de como é que nós podemos engajar. Primeiro ele falou que se você é um programador, está programando por aí, tem muito material, treinamento gratuito disponível no Commons Org Build Training. Você pode acessar esse material, pode consumir. Se você, por acaso, é brasileiro ou fala português, mas é residente na Europa, existem treinamentos gratuitos presenciais, tá? Em Paris. Também pode encontrar a agenda por aí, vai ter agora no começo de maio mais um, né? Eles gostam muito de descobrir pessoas, né? Eles falam, a gente não investe só em projeto, a gente investe em pessoas. Então, se vocês têm ideias legais para fomentar o XRPL Commons, para fazer coisas legais na XRP Ledger, vocês podem entrar em contato, podem escrever pelos meios de contato que estão ali. E ele também falou um pouquinho do programa Aquarium, que é um programa mais estruturado, que é um programa para empreendedores morarem com eles durante 3 meses, com os custos pagos, translado, alimentação, hospedagem, para buildar com eles por 3 meses. E até o exemplo de alguns brasileiros que já passaram por esse programa, como a Daniela, lá de Floripa, que escreveu o livro Boy e Bitcoin, a Elô da Trex, queridona, dá um beijo para ela, e o Breno, o pessoal do Econave, que estão fazendo sistemas para controle de crédito de biodiversidade, né, mapeando fazenda na blockchain. Então, bem legal também esse programa, se você já é um builder que tem uma startup ou tem um projeto mais estruturado, você pode colocar mais coisas. E tem uma galera aqui dando um alô. There is someone giving hello to you, David. It's Takoyaki. He says he's from Ripple. Excited to check the future of crypto in Brazil. Lots of exciting RWA tokenization. XRPL Commons is awesome. Great people to build your dApps with on XRP Ledger. So he's here saying hello to you. Following us.
You're doing an amazing job.
Yes, we are going to the wrap-ups, the ending of our conversation. I wish we could have more time, but we usually stick to an hour, so not overburden people. Perhaps we can do a second edition. I'm just following up some thanks. Galera, a gente está encerrando já, ainda aqui finalzinho da entrevista, mas vou deixar aqui os agradecimentos, tá? As pessoas que tornaram essa entrevista possível, né? Um agradecimento muito grande para a turma das criptoinvestidoras, né? A Rita, que chefia lá, né? A fundadora das criptoinvestidoras, ela que fez toda a conexão. Ela é da nossa comunidade do Casta Cripto, né? Membro da Casta Guilda, e ela viu que a gente estava a fim de falar com a XRPL Commons e foi lá e puxou, né? Puxou na raça, no peito e na coragem, fez a ponte, tornou isso possível. E agradecer também a Cassie, Hirsch, que foi quem fez a interconexão com a Rita, e foi a Cassie que sugeriu trazer o David para esse podcast, tá? So just giving the thanks for everyone who made this conversation possible. Here we have Rita from the crypto investors, the crypto investidores, so the girls crypto investors. It's a female community of crypto builders and investors in Brazil. She made all of the connections to help us reach out XRPL Commons. And also a thanks to the Cassie Hirsch, representative from XRPL Commons, who suggested that we bring David and ask David to come talk to us. So thank you all for being involved in making this conversation possible. As we go to the end of our talk, we usually let a few minutes for our guest to make his final remarks, say goodbye to the audience. While you are stating your final remarks, David, I will ask the audience to thank you for your time with us, wish all of the best for you, for XRPL Commons, for your projects, just instruct them and I pass the ball to you. Galera, indo aqui para o finalzinho, então, da nossa entrevista, como é de praxe aqui no Podcasta, quando a gente vai se despedir de um convidado, a gente dá um espaço para ele fazer suas considerações finais, né? E aí eu vou pedir para vocês que estão aqui com a gente colocarem o seu mouse ali no comentário e agradecer ao David pelo tempo que ele passou com a gente, desejar muito sucesso para ele, saúde, sucesso para os projetos que ele está emplacando na XRPL Commons, e a gente se despede dele agradecendo o tempo que ele passou aqui. So, David, please feel free to give us your final remarks and final thoughts.
First, I'd like to thank you for having me here, and really, Raphael, you're doing an important work. Doing education is hard, and you do it with a lot of passion and a lot of intention, and so I really appreciate not only the invitation but also the way you're doing that, and I could feel your intentions all the way through the preparation of this podcast. So thank you for having me. I would share maybe one thing is, I think that's still the very early days of blockchain. A lot of things that are happening right now are generating revenue, seeing a market. We're getting to a place where we can validate hypotheses, we can validate and confirm that things are working. But now what we want is a more global adoption. And we need to be very, very focused for that, not to go into many directions, to make sure that we spend our time and our energy and our money into the projects that are really going to have an impact. So it all goes down to intention. If we are intentional about the things we do, we will succeed, I have no doubt. But if we go into many directions, we will lose our focus. So really this year will be all about focus. And I invite everyone to take a step back and look at the global panorama of technology. Right now, we're seeing an overwhelming wave of adoption for AI, and it's great. And I think it is time for AI to be widely adopted in some places because it will create value. But what we don't see is that AI has been around for 70 years, and it's been a long cycles of ups and downs, winters, AI winters, like we saw crypto winters, AI bull run, like we're seeing crypto bull runs. So, these are patterns and cycles. It goes up and down, up and down. At some point, I think blockchain will get to a point where it will create value at a global scale without even people knowing that they're using blockchain. So that's the end goal, is when the technology disappears and only the use cases stay. And so with that, thank you everyone. Muito obrigado. And I will be seeing you in Brazil hopefully soon.
Great. Yes. If you want to come to Brazil, I can help you open doors with all of the major event producers. They are personal friends of mine. In several of these events, I am including a curator of stage and a stage host. So feel free to reach out if you need any help getting here. It will be a pleasure to receive you. Ele falou bastante coisa. Ele agradeceu pelo convite, elogiou o nosso trabalho, falou que gostou muito da maneira como eu conduzi a entrevista, que percebeu muita sinceridade, muita paixão no que eu estou fazendo aqui na nossa comunidade. Então, thanks, David, for your kind words about our work. Ele compartilhou também uma visão de que cripto está muito no começo, né? Tá tudo agora muito voltado para mercado, né, e token, mas que a sacada é a adoção global da tecnologia de blockchain e como que isso pode impactar o mundo, e que o foco dele, que é o foco que ele convida todos nós a ter esse foco, e é um foco que eu também trago para esse ano, é um foco em encontrar as coisas que valem a pena ser feitas, as coisas que têm impacto. E não necessariamente isso significa ficar criando token por aí. Significa usar a tecnologia para resolver problemas. Ele falou que se a gente tiver um ano, né, de boas intenções e foco nas boas intenções, que é um ano que pode dar muito certo para todo mundo, tá? Faz esse convite para a gente também olhar e fazer um paralelo com a revolução da IA, né? Que agora é IA para tudo que é lado, né? IA está sofrendo uma adoção em massa, só que inteligência artificial não foi inventada agora, né? A inteligência artificial vem dos anos 70. Inclusive, na minha tese de mestrado, eu usei tecnologias de IA e não estava muito longe do que é agora, tipo, há 15, 20 anos atrás, né? Então, ele falou que IA também teve seus verões e seus invernos, e faz parte também para a cripto, e vai chegar o momento em que, cara, a cripto vai ter o seu verão tecnológico, né, e não o seu verão especulativo, né? Aqui eu estou tomando um pouco de liberdade criativa com as palavras dele, mas que a gente vai ter um verão tecnológico de cripto e que a gente vai poder ver essa tecnologia mudando a vida de muita gente, sem as pessoas nem saberem que blockchain está tendo algum impacto na vida delas. Ele agradeceu e disse que vê a gente no Brasil logo logo. Thanks a lot, David, for your time. It was a pleasure, really a pleasure talking to you, man.
See you very soon, Novel. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We usually say when we are going to say goodbye to everyone, we say like, good winds. Bons ventos.
Bons ventos.
Bons ventos. Tchau, tchau.
Bye.